Hello, dear viewer, or should I say, Wooa Dick Rider. Today, we will ponder a question few have dared to ask. Is Genshin Impact a good game? The answer may surprise you. Now, before we begin, I feel it's important to give some important information. First off, I did not simply start playing the game on my own accord. I started playing this game because a fellow streamer, Fitz the Fixer, sorry, I think I mispronounced that. Sharts the Taint Licker asked me to play through almost all of Acts 1 through Act 4 interlude of Song of the Welkin Moon to secure a sweet, delectable bounty of 500 Primo Gems. Normally, a fine task this would be. However, there was a nice nipple twister added for good fun and some tension. I had to clear this quest before the offering went away a little over 24 hours later. Now, you might be wondering, Andrew, what made you think you could pull this off? Well, dear viewer, let me tell you, I am somewhat familiar with Hoyoverse. I have played much Zenless Zone Zero in my time. In Zenless, it would be a good guess to say that if you were to simply play through a chapter of the main story and use the convenient skip button found in the top right corner of most dialogue sequences, you could finish in around an hour. I also assumed this would be similar for Genshin, where I could mash F through unacted dialogue and skip the rest entirely. Unfortunately, this was my first big fuck up of this campaign's speed run. Now, you might be wondering, what on God's green earth is your second fuck up? That, dear viewer, would be my dumbass not waking up and seeing the request from Farts until 12:30 in the afternoon. And as a full-time college student, I needed to get some work done first. Because of this slight impairment, I didn't start this speed run until around 4:30 p.m. and I have class the next day at 8:30 a.m. What could go wrong, right? Our story begins somewhere in the middle of a dialogue box, where Nefer is yapping into the void. Why at such a random place? Because I started streaming at 8 p.m., and everything before that is a blur from the sheer boredom that was already setting in. The writing in this game is surprisingly not all terrible. We have banger lines such as, "A message scribed for the blind where no hands can reach." This is the only line I can remember because I wrote it and sent it to Shits before I started streaming this speed run. Here in the world of Genshin, you can be many things. A hand for hire, an explorer looking for the land's lost possessions, a helpful listener, and even a bartender? To help break up all the time you spend playing All-Terrain Rollerblader and Traumatized Tinder Date Simulator, you could be presented with mini-games. Examples of such include the first one I encountered, which I happily named Put the Square Peg in the Square Hole, but for bartenders. That's right, mixologists, your expertly crafted profession, which has been passed down to generations of drink crafters, has been boiled down to something even a 5-year-old can clear. And probably faster than I did. Don't worry though, here in Genshin, we understand that you need to be rewarded for your precious time. In return for gameplay that could be mistaken for melatonin, you get multiple vials of unlabeled medication. I want to wake up tomorrow and remember none of this.
Luckily, the store owner kept the medicine.
You know, normally I'd go that route, but I have class tomorrow, so I can't get shit at it. Why did I get pills? What are we popping perkies? Yo, let's go, Fitz. After popping my newly prescribed medication, I was shown that the generous developers over at Hoyo still know how to fan service their community. What's happening? Oh my god, you're holding hands! Shippers take notes! Shippers take notes! Oh! Fitz the flowers! Fitz the flowers! Fitz the flowers!
My thanks.
The flowers are doing things.
Your feet never left the ground.
Was there even anything involved with the flowers? I was looking at my other monitor. I was just saying things, dude. I'm so gone. Oh my god, the feet. The feet.
Significantly.
It's the feet. Truth be told, that games can be more enjoyable when you immerse yourself as a character in the game. So naturally, I knew the perfect stand-in for me.
Let's approach the issue this way.
Hello, my name is The Shits. I'm a private investigator. I'm here to be done and over with. Let me out.
This means that he has been hesitant to abuse this.
You're lucky, Nefair, that I'm not actually role-playing as my friend Shits the Taint Liquor, because otherwise I would be fucking absolutely down bad busting it over your bust right now. After having my ears talked off for about 5 minutes, I started my first combat encounter of the stream. For those who give a shit, Genshin is primarily played by swapping between a roster of characters, inflicting your enemies with 2 different elements to trigger a reaction. These reactions cause chunk damage to enemies. Standard attacks do less damage than a pebblet does to your toe when it gets stuck in your shoe. Simply put, this game's combat is shit in my opinion. Having the primary attack and a moveset do so little damage feels horrible, and constantly trying to play a matching game to deal some mediocre chunk damage just isn't engaging for me. It's tedious and boring. Hell, half this roster exists only to get pulled out once in a blue moon. Jalonen was just healing my team with ult, and Bennett gave some kind of buff to fire characters, I think. Yellen and Arlecchino were the main drivers. Yellen applied water, and Arlecchino did fire. Swap between the two every 5 seconds until Yellen's ult is up, and just slam things with Arlecchino until you kill the enemies, or you move on with your day because you already closed this video after listening to that gameplay loop. While fighting to not fall asleep at the keyboard, the medicine prescribed to me earlier kicked in and started a trend of generational levels of brain rot that continued throughout the whole stream. This brain rot had horrible side effects, including off-key singing alongside deranged noises and comments. Highway to the danger zone. To the danger zone. To you.
This is where
What you can do.
Gotcha. These are about to get set.
Titties! Oh, titties! It's the best ult animation in the game. Genshin clearly knew the delirious state they were putting me in, and thought they would extend a helping hand to relieve my autism. Unfortunately, what they handed me was a fresh pile of excrement I will call knockoff Ghostbusters. What am I doing right now? Be gone! Be gone! Spirits of evil, I am a goddamn Ghostbuster. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! I'm ghost busting it, bro. Busting makes me feel good! Bro, how many shadows do I have to deal with? Oh, this one's gonna fuck, man. Oh! With that, we cut ahead in this perilous timeline to 30 fucking minutes later, where after 10 minutes of dialogue, some exploration, and something like 5 more minutes of dialogue, a realization began to creep in.
This way.
Oh my god. Fins! I cannot do this again. Fins. Please. Fins. Fins. Fins, you don't understand.
Okay, let's split.
Please.
Or not. How are we supposed to read through this many files?
Find the book already, bro. Oh my god. What are we doing?
The material I've read through has...
Alright.
If this is still Act 2, suddenly the idea of finishing this tonight is cooked.
And look,
Like, bro, bro, bro,
some of these
bro, bro, I don't care about the records, dude. I don't care. I don't care. Just be done. I was now on the edge of my seat. I then slow walked through a city and crashed out over how the game was made. I was caught gooning by my first boss fight of the session.
Knuckle Duckle, what are you doing here?
Oh shit! I had my phone in my hand. Now that my belt was back on, the dust had settled, and I watched an entire 7 out of 10 cutscene, I listened to some more dialogue that I fall asleep to every night as replacement for white noise. It was time to find out if my dream of going to bed on time was chalked. I'm on Act 3, bro. Is that... What? 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 It's what? Oh. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, what? How? Dude, this should... I would have been done with, like, half of fucking... If I was, like, replaying Zenless's campaign right now, I would be halfway done with it. That's right. I was screwed. And all the game had to show for it was another 10 minutes of dialogue. I cannot express how much this game was beginning to hurt me.
We're coming up with something far more effective than Beth and I will head back over to Amsfardnir to see if there's anything
I told you, Uncle Bart.
Database updated.
What does that mean?
Oh, it's gonna have lyrics. Fuck.
After hearing their
I can't jibe to the lyrics, dude.
Money, go to the love when I want it. They wanna hate so they can't get past. So they're wasting a big old bag. Bad chick, I can be a fantasy. Say you got big energy.
Oh my god, I'm actually playing the game again. I can't wait for this just to be more fucking dialogue. Now, this part of the game particularly struck a nerve with me. To me, it felt like a take on something I saw done in the game What Remains of Edith Finch. In Edith Finch, there is a segment where your goal is to navigate a small minigame on the side of the screen while using your mouse to grab and slice fish. This segment of Genshin is similar, where you are paying attention to something else while doing the same simple action repeatedly until it fades away in the recesses of your brain, because something far more important is happening elsewhere on the screen. Except for, instead of having a mini game, you're just listening to dialogue blobs that take up the middle of the screen that you can read. The constant sound effects of clicking through certain prompts, plus the flashing on-screen hints that tell me to click the documents, really breaks my immersion. What should be the focus is the dialogue on the screen.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play.
Neutralized. Filed. I have no recollection. Female, 13. Occupation, not neutralized. Filed.
From here, things continue downhill. You are forced to sit through more NPC dialogue scenes before continuing your way through this mindscape labyrinth you've put yourself in. This wouldn't be the worst if it wasn't for the use of long hallways that have you walking at a snail's pace so that they can ensure that you don't run into the next area before hearing all the dialogue. At this point, I'd rather go back to the skippable character dialogue scenes. The next scene is no better than the first. You are again given a simple task for your subconscious. This task has you hitting practice dummies while you focus on the dialogue pervading the screen. However, the sounds of combat drown out the dialogue, and so again, it's hard to pay the dialogue any mind. To play devil's advocate though, the sudden flash transition to showing the horrible work this assassination work had caused with the dead children was a cool way of jarring me back out of the task of kicking dummies.
Just have it in my fucking controls.
Yeah, no, sorry. After watching this part back and having gotten footage of Edith Finch and comparing it, I have to say this was just as equally trash. I'm going to put up how the Lewis section of Edith Finch ends, and I think you'll understand why I realize now how mediocre this was. The following is pretty heavy, so if you want to avoid it or you don't care, you can skip to the timestamp on screen.
Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
The segment after this is the only gameplay set piece that I remember from the entire play session. You play what I can only describe as a chess piece, which represents the villain you are investigating in a recreation of a flashback. I could nag and say it's sad that this is how you're shown a character-defining moment, but the gameplay was intriguing enough to look over that. You are given a limited number of turns, and stepping on certain tiles on the map will set you back to a certain number of moves. The goal is to navigate brain fogs on the map that progress the flashback. Other gameplay elements are thrown in later to add some complexity to the puzzles, such as long lanes that move you great distances for the cost of one move, or enemies that require you to have a certain amount of moves to defeat them. This section took up some time and required strategizing from me, which was nice considering everything up until this point for the last almost hour was either short combat encounters, some Death Stranding gameplay, or my personal favorite, carpal tunnel trainer. After all this work, I am given my favorite flavor of backstory, known as villain is desperate for power after witnessing the loss of a loved one and succumbs to the evil forces that have been fucking his eardrums with whispers of goth baddies and the potent effects of gas station dick pills. Something I want to touch on quickly is the quest segment right after this. They do this attempt at mind-fucking you by making it look like you've left the mind box thingy, but in reality, you didn't. You quickly find out this is the case as Nefer's past becomes the canvas of the very place you walk on. Nefer tells everyone to shut the fuck up, and you spend 25 minutes doing nothing but clicking through dialogue boxes across 2 different locations to dig up Nefer's history. This culminates in finding out that the villain's emo ass has actually duped us and decided to try to corner and kill us in the box. As to why we had to sit through backstory that could have been relegated to a side quest is beyond me, but that's what they did. The villain fucks this up, however, and we instead wind up back in reality with the help of Columbina, who rescues us, not before Nefer hits Emo Boy with a spell that will bind him to the box. It was at this point I had reached the end of Act 3. I still had 2 more to go, and the reality of my situation had set in.
Oh, I'm so fucked, bro.
Don't be thinking it was something my
I thought I'd be done before the 5-hour mark. I'm at 4.5 hours, and I'm not done with Act 4.
Alright, it's time to rant about the boss fight with RARXD. This boss fight is ass. I cannot stress how miserable and uninteresting the fight with RARXD was. The first phase is standard stuff. You have your gang of goons who you spent the last 6 hours of your life with. They have gathered here to help you host your night of brazen sex on RARXD. Unfortunately for me though, despite having played this godforsaken campaign for as long as I had, I don't have an inkling of how these characters work since I spent at most 5 minutes with each of them. Now I must use them all in a fight against a boss who is 2 levels above me and takes no fucking damage from any element matches. I felt like his mom tickling him, giving him hugs and kisses. Meanwhile, he kicks me in the air, making me flop around like a fucking fish because of stun lock. The second phase of this shit show was so bad that I could feel rage in me brewing more intensely the longer this shit-tastic spectacle went on. After getting RARXD down to around 1/3 of his health, the phase flips over, regaining his HP. They also strip you of your whole party except for Nefer. Not only has RARXD become more aggressive with attacks that cover more ground, but I now do as much damage as flicking ant turds at his forehead. Neither of these characters can set up chain reacting element reactions. So now my damage is down the toilet. This whole fight feels like I'm just ramming my head into a wall repeatedly until it finally crumbles. Especially in the second phase, you lose any capabilities of making smart and crafty plays, and you're left just throwing one ability after the other at him, chipping away until you finally trigger a cutscene at 1/6 of his health. The entire fight with RARXD took around 10 minutes. If you were to ask how long I thought it took when I finished, I would have said 15 because of how much of a drag the second phase was. Going back and measuring the footage, I found the fight with RARXD took around 5 minutes per phase. However, similar to how I felt about the fight as a whole, I felt the second phase was longer, but in reality it was the same length of time because of how much of a slog it was. Alright, with the defeat of RARXD, Act 4 comes to a close. I am relieved that I can finally begin the final act. At this point, I'm fighting the masculine urge to find some snow and bleed out in it. What I don't know is how Hoyo was going to take an idea for a 1-hour side quest and stretch it out to take around 2.5 hours. To begin, I had to experience around 1 fucking hour of straight character dialogue with a sprinkling of world traversal before the first gameplay set piece. This set piece was serviceable at best, where you guide an NPC ghost through some ruins, raising and lowering barriers to prevent the ghost from being killed by these wisp things from the Ghostbusters section. This culminates you needing to blow up barrels at the right time to destroy the hordes of wisps before ultimately finding out that your efforts were fruitless, and no matter what, the NPC finds a way to get himself killed in the end. After nearly 10 more minutes of Tinder date trauma dumping, I get loaded into a top 3 worst segments of this entire marathon. A dungeon that would test and ultimately cripple my mental fortitude. The mechanic behind this entire dungeon is pulling out keystones and putting them into other holders to manipulate the environment, open doors, etc. After clearing the opening area and landing at the main structure, I paused to change my music. I noticed that there was a change difficulty button, and if you've learned anything about how I felt about this experience so far, you would be unsurprised to see me immediately reset to play on a lower difficulty. If you haven't caught on yet for whatever reason, it's because this game's combat is less appealing than fresh crap on the sidewalk. If that wasn't bad enough, the dungeon had issues where the tool for picking up and moving keystones would constantly crap out and not let me pick up the keystones, or it would just randomly drop them. It wasn't until watching back the VOD that I realized that standing near the patches of glowing flowers was what enabled the functionality, and even then it still looks a little inconsistent.
Dude, this shit is so jank. Oh my god, dude, I am not in the mood for shitty puzzle design. I'm not in the mood right now. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god.
Of course, this wouldn't be Genshin shitbag without some more combat crap being shoved in my face.
Thank Dude. Fuck this game, bro. Fuck this game.
There was also some shitty puzzle issues that were always a good time.
Bro. Oh boy.
After finally making it through this crapshoot of a dungeon, I'm presented with the source of the last hour and a half of NPC yapping and back pains, the reason why Columbina suddenly turned into a fucking ghost.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Yes. It's like... But what about now? I understand what
Life is a long journey.
Oh my god, I just got the gist of what this whole fucking thing's about. This quest is so autistic. Are you for real?
She has
Oh my god! This is so cheesy and corny, I cannot! Oh my god, this interlude quest! While my past self makes it sound like I hated this concept of her fading out of existence because she has no name, I don't hate it. What you're really hearing in retrospect is me taking out my anger on the narrative because getting here took an hour and a half with nothing to show for it. The end doesn't feel like it justified all the bullshit I had to wade through to get here. This quest could have been something done on the side that took half as much time and could have still been just as meaningful. This was so lame and infuriating that I completely forgot about it until I started writing the script. Then, while watching the VOD, I saw a ghost Columbina and was immediately flashed back to the crap heap I had played. The last segment of this campaign was actually one of my favorites.
Otherwise, just relax and enjoy yourself. Alright then. Off I go.
Oh my god, she smiled and laughed.
Where should I go first?
No, I have to.
Must be the mage's stall. It feels like I've entered a fairy tale.
Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god! Oh, you Tristan. If you leave re-enter, you may not have the experience of the same pond again. I want to leave. Can I just leave and skip it? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This can fuck right off. No, this is supposed to be like... I have to do it. Oh my... Despite my bitching, since I was tired, I actually really enjoyed this part once I settled into it. The mini-games were simple but pleasurable. The dialogue had its usual abundance, but it wasn't a bunch of shit that I didn't understand. Instead, it was a lot of good, cheery times with friends. It was awesome seeing Columbina experience a festival for the first time, and it was sweet and humbling. The vibe and atmosphere reminded me of the Golden Saucer dates in Final Fantasy VII, so much so I actually turned on some music from Final Fantasy VII while I was playing through this section to help hone the feeling I was looking for. At the end of it all, like Final Fantasy VII, the cute chick you've been busting your ass for since you started playing gets ripped from your hands at the end. It was pretty sad to see, but I was so desperate to close this game that it didn't affect me as much as it might have normally. I was very much done doom scrolling dialogue harder than the average unsupervised 8-year-old doom scrolls shorts on YouTube. I know I called this a review, but it was really just a rant so I can illustrate to you, Fitz, just how much pain I went through just for bragging rights. So, to close this review, I'm going to give this game a 0 jits rags out of 10, because a used Shards Kun rag is worth more to me than any of my time spent playing this mediocre monstrosity. If you enjoyed the massive shitpost and made it to the end, then leave a like, please and thank you. I took a long time making this video, and it means something that you made it to the end. If you hated my takes in this video, then that's okay, we can agree to disagree. If you want to see more of my content, then please head over to my Twitch. Things are fairly variety right now, and the stream times are pretty consistent. I usually target 8 p.m. PST to 11 p.m. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, then maybe consider checking out my friend Fitz, the Fixer. He mostly does gacha game content while discussing D&D, magic cards, and other fun nerd topics. If you want validation for your Wuthering Waves addiction, Shits is your man. Well, that's all from me, and I will see you around, gamers.